Can we have the light, so that we can rest our eyes? As the text you said before, sleeping could be, was it sleeping? I think so. Sleeping could be regarded as a part of neutral deeds. But in the illusions of our dream, we committed a lot of serious non-virtuous deeds like killing, lying, etc. And these deeds, I think it is a question for your holiness. You have mixed the questions for holiness with myself. I am not your holiness, sorry. It is addressed to your holiness.
Some people put all the questions in one box, so they're mixed up.
Oh, okay, this against your holiness.
Can you all write on the top of the question? Please do your questions.
This is Venerable Dhammadipa.
Yeah, because some people are accidentally putting them in the wrong different boxes.
This is myself in. Okay, this is how many sessions should we. Okay. Okay, so now these are questions for me, no mistake, no holiness. Okay, first question. How can we meditate in any situation? The answer is very simple, and you have learned already. In any situation, you can keep mindfulness. If you have mindfulness, you are not lazy. We have learned before. If you don't have mindfulness, you are lazy. And for those of us who have some experience in meditation, you should be aware that without the mindfulness there is no meditation. Meditation is based on mindfulness. If we don't have mindfulness, we even don't notice our unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome acts. When we have mindfulness, we start distinguishing between wholesome and unwholesome. And when this distinction comes naturally, we are advanced in the meditation. Now, the difference between us and the Buddha or the Arahats, the accomplished disciples of Buddha, is that those who are enlightened, those who have realized the Buddha's teachings, they can never lose their mindfulness. If they lose their mindfulness, they are perfectly aware. It's just a madness, nothing else. A complete madness. So, an enlightened person never leaves his mindfulness. That's why he always stays in the state of equanimity. Equanimity, you should distinguish, is of two kinds. The Vedana upeksha and the Samskara upeksha. The equanimity in the sense of neutral feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Now we are not talking about this equanimity. This is a great misunderstanding. The Arahat, he can be very joyful. He can also be sad. But his mind still does not move. Why? He does not cling to the pleasant sensation. He does not reject the unpleasant sensation. So his awareness is continuous. So he also does not reject the neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation. The Buddha explained that for the wise, the neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation is suffering. For the wise, the neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation is happiness. Sorry. For the non-wise, the neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation is suffering. Why? Because they are so much habituated to the clinging to the pleasant and rejecting the unpleasant. And this is actually the source of the non-meditating mind. The non-meditating mind just runs after these sensations. So the non-meditating mind is always hurt. Why? Because it runs after the sensations. The enlightened person doesn't run after the sensations. So he stays in the state of equanimity. That's why he loses his awareness and he never loses his mindfulness. So he is in a state of peace. The path of the Bodhisattva is to maintain this state of peace in all situations, even in the hell. This is very difficult. For that, we have to have a deep realization of the endurance of Dharma. The Dharma does not differentiate. That which differentiates is ourself. So this is very important to understand. And the beginning of this understanding comes from mindfulness. If you are mindful, you are open to meditation. If you are not mindful, how much theory you may know, you are not open to meditation. That's why nowadays there are people who study Buddhism to criticize Buddhism, because they don't understand the practice of mindfulness. How can we resolve our or eliminate anger? Now this is also a very important question, and you should give thought to it. This is also connected with mindfulness. If you don't have mindfulness, you have no skillful means of controlling anger. If you have mindfulness, you can very easily control the anger. Now, there is no mind process as such unless we pay attention to an object. Very important to understand. In the Sanskrit language, the attention is called manasikara, zuo-yi. In Chinese, they translate literally this term. Zuo-yi, manasikara, means making object in the mind. Manasi means in the mind, kara means making. We make object in the mind, therefore we cognize the object. No matter whether we use words or in state of dhyana, we do not use words. When our mind attaches to the object, the manasikara is there, and the process of cognition starts. Now, when we are angry, what object we pay attention to? The object, the unpleasant object, the non-beautiful object, the object of non-liking, ugly object. There has to be attention to an object we do not like, so that the anger can arise. If there is no object we do not like, the anger will not arise. In the Buddhist tradition, this scope of anger is very, very wide. The anger belongs to the complex in Buddhist psychology called pratigha, from the Sanskrit root han. Han means actually kill, strike, against. Prati means against. When we don't like something, when something is ugly, we want to strike against it. We don't want it. In subtle moments, it is mind. In the very gross moments, it may be even the body which will strike against. We can call this complex the resistance, complex of resistance. So when there is ignorance, there is complex of resistance and holding, greed. Resistance and greed is the expression of our ignorance. Because we have complex of resistance and greed, we are ignorant. So in Buddhism, the ignorance is the root of all defilements. If there is no ignorance, there is no defilement. So we have explained the aim of meditation is purification. Only the wisdom can accomplish this process. All the other mental factors are the helpers of wisdom. That we have explained, citing the Dhammapada. All the wholesome mental factors are for the sake of purification, which is a job of wisdom. So you can say that Buddhism is a study of wisdom. And the wisdom is based in mindfulness. If there is no mindfulness, no wisdom, no awareness. So when you have mindfulness, you will be aware when you become angry. There is an ugly object you do not like. Now, because you are learning meditation, you are learning flexibility of mind. You turn mind to a likable object, like a love, most likable object in our hearts. No anger can arise. In Buddhist psychology, this complex of resistance is connected with many, many situations. If we are depressed, that is the complex of resistance. If we have fear, that is complex of resistance. If we have worries, that is also complex of resistance. So the scope of this pratigha, mental factor, is very, very wide. If you don't have pratigha, if you don't have resistance complex, you don't have attachment. Because we have attachment, we have the resistance complex. So the Buddha explained the rebirth process based on attachment. Because attachment is also the root for anger. Anger is the most detrimental mental factor. Its color is black. It blackens the heart. And according to Abhidharma and to Indian Chinese medicine, it pumps poison into our heart. Because we have poison in our heart, we have poison in our blood, we become old very soon. And you have learned yesterday, His Holiness said, the anger is the root of all the hells. So we have to be particularly careful about anger. The attachment is a root of the states of hungry ghosts, the pretas. But the pretas usually do not live very long. The hell beings live a long, long time. So they are the most dangerous states of mind. How can we remove laziness for meditation practice? We have explained that yesterday. The person was not here, maybe. So one has to have a desire for Dharma, one has to have faith, one has to have practice. Then the state of clarity and the state of relaxation will come. This state of clarity and relaxation and health and laziness, they don't go together. When the mind is lazy, sleepy, it is not clear. When the mind is mindful, it is clear. So when the mind is mindful, no laziness. When the mind is not mindful, that is laziness. Okay, so that much for the first set of questions. We have another set of questions. How many sessions should we do in a day in order to gain the experience? At least. This is not a good question. This shows that your mind is a very, very busy mind, a stressed mind. In a deep Buddhist meditation experience, there is no question of time. The time exists, if you study Buddhist philosophy, exists only in our mind. It is not real. It exists in what time? In what mind? It exists in the mind of attachment. When the mind is non-attached, it has some taste of non-time. Now we should learn to practice meditation to experience this kind of mind. When looking at the meditation object, should we blink the eyes? You should not blink the eyes, we have explained it, but if you blink, you should be aware that you are blinking and for what purpose you are blinking. Then the blinking will be of benefit. If you blink and even not aware of blinking, then the blinking is completely useless for meditation. The blinking has its physiological function. When we fix our eyes and remain concentrated and relaxed, the blinking goes naturally away. We don't need to think about it. But when we change the objects, the blinking will arise. Very important to be aware. Of course, in daily life, we need to change the objects. So, it's quite natural to blink. But in meditation, we are learning not to change the object. In this conditioning, we don't blink. We don't need to think about it. Naturally, we don't blink. When we don't change the object and stay with the same object, the blinking will stop. Would you please give a comparison of sitting and walking meditation? Well, all meditation is based on mindfulness. If you're mindful, you can connect the four bodily postures into one continuity. The Buddha has explained that we can only succeed in meditation when we practice satatam sakrityam. How to translate? Wu Tian Yin Zhong. Wu Tian means continuously. And Yin Zhong means with devotion. When we practice with continuity and devotion, we can succeed in meditation very fast. And to practice continually and with devotion, we need something to shake us from the very depths of our being. This being shaken from the very depths of our being, it has even in yoga a technical term, it's called samvega. Unless we have samvega, we will not succeed in meditation. When we have samvega, like we have some understanding of the health and so on, then we can practice with devotion and without interruption. Then the success will be very easy. Once we succeed, then the Dharma itself will program us. We don't need to do so much. But as long as we are still without any significant realization, we have to program ourselves by practicing regularly until the samvega will come. Okay, so that much for the second question. Please give a quick techniques for countering the mind sinking during practice. Oh, this person very like 4, 7, 8, hold, inhale, hold, exhale, breathing to bring focus. Usually, according to Buddhism, you don't need to be so complicated. What is the cause of thinking? And what is the cause of non-thinking? All depends on wisdom. Without wisdom, we cannot learn meditation. The cause of non-thinking, according to Buddhist philosophy, is aloka sanya. Aloka means light, sanya means perception. The perception of light. When the mind has perception of light, it cannot think. The mind is thinking because it has no perception of light. And what brings to the mind the perception of light? Concentration and wisdom. If we don't have concentration and wisdom, the perception of light will not appear. So whatever antidote we use will not be very effective. So the most effective antidote is, of course, wisdom and concentration. And they are based on mindfulness. Now, if one is very tired physically, very hard to fight, then what helps is open one's eyes, look into the light, lamplight, sunlight, moonlight. If you want to continue and still it doesn't work, you can take a cold shower. If you are that's why the Indian sadhus like to live in the vicinity of the river, especially the ice cold river in the Himalayas. So this is how one fights effectively with the in the morning you can take a cold shower, but it has to be not later than 4 o'clock. Some exceptions, 5 o'clock, possible. Not later than that. Then after the practice, if the laziness comes again, you take the cold shower again. This is how the Indian yogis cope with this keeping the mind fresh. Now there is a question in Chinese. I will translate into English. How to practice the shamatha based on the breath. 如何练习呼吸所知修法。I have a course on shamatha using the Chinese methods of meditation on the breath. Basically based on Tian Tai tradition and on Yi Jie Shati Lun. Now we have no time to elaborate. All we can do is to give you some basic background for the practice. This is my job here, but I cannot give you any details. For that, I have been requested to give the Shamatha course. And the Shamatha course will take place from the 2nd of, I think, 2nd or 3rd of October until 12th, no? Now we come to the last question. Thank you for the teachings. It was mentioned that Arya Asanga said that when meditating on an unmoving object, it is shamatha meditation, and when meditating on a moving object, it is vipassana meditation. It was also mentioned that in the Mahayana tradition, the object of shamatha meditation and vipassana meditation are the same object. Indeed, the same object is a mind. In vipassana meditation, the mind examines the different aspects of the object, while in shamatha meditation, the mind just aware of the object as it appears. It's not quite so. It is aware of the unmoving object. It is aware of the non-differentiated image of the object. Wu Fen Pie Yin Xiang. Nirvikalpa Pratibimba. Very wonderful word. The image, reflected image without elaboration. The Indian yogis, they use a very, very precise language. This non-differentiated image is not the same as the image you have taken with your 5 senses, but it is based and not different from that image. And you stay with the same image until it becomes illumined through concentration and wisdom. And it does not move. Then you can turn your attention to the mind, because when the mind does not move, when the object does not move, the mind also does not move. When the mind moves, it is because the objects move. Then When the mind moves, you make it move on the base of wisdom. That is Vipassana. So you analyze the 5 aggregates, the 12 spheres of perception, the 18 elements of perception, the 22 faculties, the dependent origination, the 4 noble truths. These are the objects of wisdom. If it does not move, you contemplate the suchness of the mind. The suchness of the mind does not differ from the suchness of the objects. So this is how the ultimate truth and the worldly truth come to one truth. So this is how you work until you completely penetrate the nature of the mind. So this, from point of view, the difference between Shamatha meditation and Vipassana meditation is the mind is moving or not moving. Can you please explain how these two views are contradictory? We have explained without reading the question. So now we have 15 minutes, so please relax. Straighten your back, level your shoulders, try to pay attention to the middle channel. If you pay attention to the middle channel, you will start breathing with both nostrils. Try to relax in a stable posture and fix your mind on the meditation object. Yuan Ci Gong De Pu Ji Yi Qie Wo Dan Yi Zhong San Jie Gong Chen Fo Tao. May the merits we have gained spread to all beings so that myself and them together attain the Buddhahood. Thank you.